Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Ben Stiller just made an appearance on a music video, and this is very interesting because of the symbolism in the music video, and I'm having a hard time figuring it out. Song was done by the artist SZA, and she has put on a new persona. She is now this ant/alien looking figure, and this reminds me of the artist Melanie Martinez. She did something very similar to this, and the first 3 minutes of this music video is literally just him driving, lip syncing to the song, and the last minute is SZA appearing as this figure. Appears she is some type of insect because she is found in the grass at night in the fog, and she just starts getting down. I have no clue what it means, so I decided to look it up and ask ChatGPT, and it said this symbolizes themes of transformation, vulnerability, and a deep connection to nature. These motifs align with the aesthetic of her upcoming album Lana, which already released, reflecting her personal growth and creative evolution. Me personally, I really don't get it, and I feel like there could be something darker here, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about this.
It's weird seeing how many of these celebrities are involved in this demonic imagery they keep feeding us. I used to say my biggest dream in life was to become a film director, but the more I learn about Hollywood, the more I realized it just isn't the place for me.
Oh, what the f is this? Yo, something big is finna happen, bro.
How do you film something like that in your backyard and then just go in and turn the lights off and go to bed like everything's normal? That'd be terrifying to see something like that over your house. It looks like that company that sells sunlight at night. And what's the deal with the cops telling everyone they're not allowed to film it? That just sounds to me like they've been given that order to stir up conspiracies.
The Trade Center's designers tried to anticipate every possible disaster. The towers were the first skyscrapers ever built explicitly to survive the impact of a plane. Explicitly to survive the impact of a plane.
We had designed the project for the impact of our largest airplane of its time, the Boeing 707. That is to take this jet airplane, run it into the building, destroy a lot of structure, and still have it stand
explicitly to survive the impact of a plane. Explicitly to survive the impact of a plane.
Explicitly designed to survive the impact of a plane. Well, they either failed miserably or there's more to that day than we're being told. I think we all know what the answer is to this question. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com.
Holy cow, this is so mind-blowing that my head actually hurts. In Antarctica, NASA has just discovered what might be a parallel universe where time flows backwards. Here's the wild part. They weren't even looking for this. They just had their NASA balloon out in Antarctica in the crystal clear air, searching for cosmic particles. And then something impossible happened, literally impossible, that defies the laws of physics as we know them. So there are these high energy particles called tau neutrinos, and typically they come down from space. But what they discovered was that these things were actually coming up from Earth, like watching water flow uphill, something that, again, breaks the laws of physics as we know them. But scientists apparently are like, but maybe they aren't moving upwards. Maybe instead they're moving backwards through time. And apparently the simplest and most logical explanation for this is that it's a parallel universe that was born at the same time ours was during the Big Bang. But here's the kicker. In that universe, if you dropped your phone, it would unshatter and go back in your hand. If you spilled your coffee, it would flow backwards into the cup. Basically take everything we know about time and flip it and reverse it. Now, somewhere in this mirror universe, there could be beings looking at us saying, these guys are living life backwards. This is an absolutely insane discovery. I just hope it's not like the Upside Down and we've opened some parallel door.
I feel like I've heard the phrase breaks our laws of physics so much here lately that it's starting to look like our laws of physics need to be readdressed. Maybe we don't have as much figured out as we think we do.
Do you see what I see? This is right now, Christmas weekend, military aircraft over the United States. I've tried to make this video 3 times and it keeps freezing me up in the app. It's never done that before. Last night, Vice President Harris and Uncle Joe decided to cancel Christmas trips and stayed in Washington, D.C. I don't give in to many theories, but this has my interest piqued. As a licensed student pilot, you understand that aircraft tell a story. This is a sub-hunter on the East Coast right now. This is a refueler. Another refueler right now over the East Coast. Another sub-hunter above New York. Another sub on the East Coast in North Carolina. Christmas weekend, President and Vice President cancel trips, stay in Washington, and this is the most sub-hunters I've ever seen up in one day. What do they know that they're not telling us? There is no such thing as coincidence. Obviously, this is not to put fear out there. This is just saying, hey, something's up, and it's a lot of aircraft that are up right now.
He keeps saying these planes are sub-hunters. I don't know much about planes. Does this mean that they're planes that search for submarines? If so, then they're likely out there looking for the location that these orbs are rising up out of the ocean from.
26-year-old whistleblower who blew the whistle on OpenAI's copyright infringement has been found dead in his apartment. Suchir Balaji was a former employee at OpenAI, and he made waves earlier this year when he blew the whistle, saying, hey, they are just violating copyright law left and right. Which we know, but having an employee come out and be like, y'all, like, it's truly ridiculous how much copyright violation is going on. That must have spooked the company a bit. Now, local officials have said that they've determined this to be a suicide, right after we were told that the Boeing whistleblower's death was a suicide. But I don't know. Maybe it truly is just a string of suicidal whistleblowers for national security adjacent corporations. And we should just get used to that and accept it. Accept it. Now, I should say OpenAI has stated that they are big sad to hear about this guy's death. That's what they've said. Right at the same time, they released a video rendering AI model to the public to be able to render video, because that's what we need in the world. For real, we don't know a whole lot more about this, but I just want to say on the topic of AI and like generative AI, what are we getting out of this? Genuinely. Like, the only argument that I've seen is that this is going to automate creativity. To what end? Money? Why? What do we need money for if we can automate everything? AI 100% has a place in modern day, and it has had a place in modern day for quite some time. It's been a thing. It's been a part of our daily lives for the past more than a decade. It's just recently we put a mouth on it, and that had a wow factor that they're now cramming into everything. So like, I'm not going to say there's no value to anything AI. At the same time, why are we rushing so hard in this one direction with it when we could instead be going any other direction? How many people in this world need access to the ability to generate video at a whim? Is that the best use of our time and energy?
It's starting to look like being suicidal is a requirement for being a whistleblower. How are these suicides not at the very least investigated as suspicious deaths? This keeps happening over and over, and we're just supposed to look past it like there's no possible chance that something nefarious is going on.
What's a coincidence that you think about a lot?
I think about how a lot of the banks that received bailouts back in 2008 were heavily invested in by BlackRock. And that the person that the US government put in charge of managing those bailouts was Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. And also how one of the people who's credited with at least a good chunk of the popularity of subprime mortgage-backed securities, which is the type of investment that caused that collapse in the first place, was Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. That's a weird coincidence. I mean, it almost would look as if the US government paid Larry Fink to give himself taxpayer money as a reward for destroying the world economy. I mean, it would look that way if it weren't such a coincidence.
This makes about as much sense as putting the guy in charge of gain-of-function research in charge of stopping the virus that was caused by the gain-of-function research. Supposedly. Just another shining example of the incompetence of the U.S. federal government.
Okay, do you remember the arc reactor from Iron Man? This guy just built a real-life version, which I'm going to show you, that I saw in real life. And he just broke a record in fusion with it. This is about his company. The company is called Quantum Kinetics Corporation. You could see their YouTube videos. He has a book called The Quantum Kinetic Well, which you could learn all about this clean energy or cold fusion thing going on. This guy even has a paper in Nature. Basically, this machine can help clean our air, clean our water, help the nuclear waste not be radioactive, can make cars run better. It can even help with a certain travel that I cannot get into. But this can literally change our world. Science fiction became reality, guys. So I got to see it in real life. This is the real actual model. Like, it actually works. And a video will come out soon where I got to touch the knob to make it work. This guy's story is incredible. Basically, he got in a horrible car accident and something kind of switched in his brain. I think he has acquired savant syndrome, where he literally almost started to channel these ideas. And now he's breaking records. This is going to change the world. The problem is science, mainstream science, does not like this. It is either hard to understand or it's just too simple to believe. You guys need to tell everyone you know about this guy and this company, because once you understand it, you can't unsee it. Once you see how simple the answer is, you're gonna wonder why we make it so hard for ourselves. But we're human, that's what we do. And yeah, I had a super secret meeting in Seattle to see all of this and learn the secrets. The video will be out soon on YouTube of the whole.
This guy's name is McCain B. Lee. We all need to remember that name because we're probably all going to see it again in the paper soon, claiming that he offed himself. That's the direction all these guys go in whenever they create some revolutionary new technology that makes it easier to obtain energy. Hopefully this technology actually sees the light of day.
New Jersey residents are now reporting birds flying in highly unusual patterns, migrating by the thousands out of New Jersey just over the last couple of days. I don't normally inject my opinions, but when I do, I need my hat. First off, birds are highly in tune with magnetic fields. It's how they migrate in the first place. So when something unusual happens to the magnetic field, it can cause them to behave in the way you see here. Now, we've seen this happen before, recently on cruise ships in the Gulf of Mexico, only a few days before the last hurricane made landfall. A hurricane, I might add, that went completely against natural weather patterns. Coincidentally, researchers pointed out strange lasers beaming in the area from these towers, which some critics claim was there to direct the storm's path. If you believe in that sort of thing, not saying I do. What does this have to do with New York and New Jersey? Well, coincidentally, in this area, we have these towers here. And as you likely know, this is where the drone sightings are. And if I were to be the kind of person to wear this sort of hat, I'd say one possibility for this possible magnetic disruption affecting these birds is that they are using these towers to bring one heck of a storm to this area, or trying to attract something else. Side note, since I'm already wearing the hat and I have about 30 seconds left to film, in April of this year, this area experienced a very rare 4.8 magnitude earthquake. They came out in the news saying they discovered a new fault line, which could explain the highest magnitude earthquake recorded in the area for the last several hundred years. Could this have something to do with any of this? Well, we'll find out. That's a video for next time.
This makes me wonder if the orbs are altering the magnetic field in the area, or if the natural change in our magnetic field is the reason that these things are in the sky to begin with. Maybe they're preparing for the next world-altering event, or trying to warn us that one's coming because the powers that be aren't letting us know what's going on, and the magnetic field acting up is just a sign of what's to come.
So you think the 24-hour sun in Antarctica debunks the flat Earth, do you? Well, what if I were to tell you we have a physical working model of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica?
I can show it happening in this model. From what I'm seeing of the sun in their footage, it's matching what I see when I do it in here. That to me is just cool.
This light way back here on the edge of the superfluid ceiling, I'm gonna zoom in on that, and then I'm gonna move the sun clockwise around Capricorn and show you that with the superfluid ceiling inside of the dome, the apparent 24-hour sun does happen. So now I'm zoomed all the way in, you see the light moving. And when I move around Capricorn, see, you get that apparent counterclockwise motion. 24-hour sun.
I want you to notice that in both real life and in the model, the sun will squash as it comes down toward the horizon. Kind of how rainbows in the north are really high up and domey, and then the further you travel south, they start to squash down further and further. The claim is that the Earth is a sphere and has a 24-hour sun both in the north and the south, yet the northern 24-hour sun looks like the sun barely gets off of the horizon. In fact, the highest elevation angle for the 24-hour sun in the north is only 23.5 degrees. And what do you know it? It's exactly the same symmetrically for the south, supposedly. Yet during the final experiment, this is about 23.5 degrees, yet the sun keeps climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing in elevation and climbing and climbing and climbing until it's about, I don't know, 40, 45 degrees or something? So what do you think? Is the Earth a globe? Or have we figured out with an actual physical working model that a 24-hour sun is actually possible on a flat Earth? I'll let you decide.
And this is what I mean when I say that the flat earth community has an answer for everything. I don't know that this video proves that a 24-hour sun would still work on a flat earth model, but at least somebody has an explanation of how it would supposedly work, and it makes sense.
The church had become so corrupted, it no longer resembled the original Christian faith started by Jesus and the apostles. And now the people had Bibles in their own language. They could see for themselves the misrepresentation. Not only could they see the church extorted money from the people, but also noticed all the similarities between the Catholic Pope and the persecuting Antichrist system of the Bible. Martin Luther wrote, and I quote, "I'm practically cornered and can hardly doubt anymore that the Pope is really the Antichrist, because everything so exactly corresponds to the way of his life, actions, words, and commandments." Luther also said, "We here are of the conviction that the papacy is the seat of the true and real Antichrist. Personally, I declare that I owe the Pope no other obedience than that to Antichrist." Further, he said, "I already feel greater liberty in my heart, for at last I know that the Pope is the Antichrist, and that his throne is that of Satan himself." William Tyndale said, when speaking about the papal office, "It is impossible to preach Christ except thou preach against Antichrist." He also said, "I defy the Pope and all his laws. If God spare my life many years, I will cause a boy who drives the plow to know more of the scriptures than he does." Another reformer, John Calvin, said, "Some persons think us too severe and censorious when we call the Roman pontiff Antichrist." John Wesley, who started the Methodist Church, stated in his writings over 100 times the Pope was Antichrist. He said, "He is in emphatical sense the man of sin, as he increases all manner of sin above measure. And he is, too, properly styled the son of perdition, as he has caused the death of numberless multitudes, both of his opposers and followers." He also said, "Yea, we doubt not to prove the kingdom of the Pope to be the kingdom and power of Antichrist." Another reformer, John Knox, said, "That tyranny which the Pope himself has for so many ages exercised over the church, he is the very Antichrist and son of perdition of whom Paul speaks." An early reformer, John Huss, said, "As for the Antichrist occupying the papal chair, it is evident that a pope living contrary to Christ, like any other perverted person, is called by common consent Antichrist." Famous Baptist preacher Charles Spurgeon said, "Then the world changed its tactics. It became nominally Christian, and Antichrist came forth in all its blasphemous glory. The Pope of Rome put on the triple crown and called himself the Vicar of Christ. Then came in the abomination of the worship of saints, angels, images, and pictures." He further said, "It is the bounden duty of every Christian to pray against Antichrist. And as to what Antichrist is, no sane man ought to raise a question. If it be not the Popery and the Church of Rome, there is nothing in the world that can be called by that name." I could give hours upon hours of quotes from well-known theologians of all denominations, including Catholics, who proclaim publicly that the office of the Pope is that of Antichrist.
In yesterday's video, we had a clip that claimed that Elon Musk was the Antichrist, and I disagreed with it. I found out really quick that a lot of you disagreed with me, and that's fine. I'm not going to change my opinion on the matter, and I'm not trying to change any of you guys' opinion. But I personally feel like, after watching this, we have a much better candidate to look into.
Does this ancient prophecy predict the end of the Catholic Church and humanity as we know it? There was this book that was found in the Vatican archives back in 1590. As it turns out, in 1139, an archbishop named St. Malachi traveled to Rome and had this terrifying vision, which became known as the prophecy of the popes. He predicted this list of 112 popes, all leading to one final pope who would reign during the end of the world. The prophecy described each pope with cryptic Latin phrases that were eerily accurate. Now, here's the terrifying part. In St. Paul's Basilica, surrounding the inner sanctuary, there are portraits of every single pope that's ever existed. Every one of them is filled up to the current pope, Pope Francis, and there's only one empty portrait slot left in the entire place. And it's thought that once that last slot is filled, it's supposed to be the end times. Now, some believe this prophecy says that Pope Francis is the last pope, who is called Peter of Rome. Pope Francis was born in Rome, but his family immigrated to Argentina when he was young. His papal namesake, Francis of Assisi, his father, was named Pietro, or Peter. Now, the prophecy warns that during Peter of Rome's reign, there will be great tribulation within the Catholic Church, culminating in Rome being destroyed, leading to humanity's judgment day. And maybe one of the creepiest parts about this prophecy is that, according to Pope John the 23rd, who looked into this, he calculated the time that it would take to go from the beginning of the prophecy to the last pope, and it's supposed to happen in the year 2027. But probably nothing will happen, since prophecies usually never come to pass. But let me know what you think in the comments.
I'm going to have to agree with that guy. As many prophecies and predictions as we've talked about on this channel, I've yet to see one come to fruition the way it was proposed. I just think this is very interesting, though, that we're so close to the end of a prophecy from so long ago that seems to be playing out according to the prophecy.
Astronauts that have been stuck in space for months just dropped pictures in Santa hats, and social media is buzzing with questions. First of all, if you didn't know, there are 2 astronauts that have been stuck in space for a very long time. They go by the name Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore, and in June they went on a space trip that was only supposed to last 8 days, but they haven't came back, and they're not due back till March. Now, the question circulating around social media is, where the heck did those Santa hats come from? Because there is no way you packed Santa hats in June for an 8-day trip, and that's where all the conspiracies started. Turns out SpaceX is sending them care packages, and they're getting holiday meals, clothes, and all that good stuff. And then a common question arises: if SpaceX is able to transfer stuff to them back and forth from Earth, why can't they just tag along and come back with them? Especially for Sunita Williams, people are expressing their concern for her dramatic weight loss. I mean, they said they have to eat at least 4,000 calories up there to maintain their weight. I'm no space expert, but I too, just like everyone else, have a lot of questions about this situation.
This one's funny. They want us to believe that they got those hats in a supply drop, but at the same time, they want us to believe that they can't hitch a ride back on the ship that brought the supplies. Those two aren't stuck. Somebody has made a decision to keep them there. If they can send supplies, they can send some way to pick them up and bring them home. So what's really going on here? So that was the end of our clips today, and for those of you who stuck around to the end, please let me know, how was today's video's commentary? I'm trying to get more precise with my commentary so there's less focus on me and my thoughts and opinions and more focus on the clips. And I'm interested in getting critical feedback from you guys, because that will let me know if I'm going in the right direction or if this is a big misstep. Thank you everyone in advance for your feedback. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. I will be missing Wednesday for Christmas, but the rest of the week will be a regular upload schedule. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my website at barry-stepp.com where you can order yourself some merch. And don't forget to drop a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But with all that out of the way, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.